it appears that over the next couple of days, Ken Holland will be named as the new general manager of the Edmonton Oilers. If he's not, we'll circle back to this video at a later date and discuss what happened. But it appears that everything's pointing to him doing it. He's going to meet with Detroit owners to talk to them and say, so I'm taking the job in Edmonton, and he's going to be on his way out the door. This was kind of expected, but not necessarily with Edmonton. Ken Holland has been connected, rumored, towards Seattle for a long time. And there were rumors he was going to come into Vancouver, which had me saying, oh, no. And only because I didn't think Holland would work in Vancouver. Now, in Edmonton, it might. It might. He has that superstar in Connor McDavid. He might be able to build something around it. Now, what I think is going to help Ken Holland is he doesn't have any attachment to these players, so he can come in and probably make a more objective decision with each player than he otherwise may have. I think where his issue has been in Detroit is I think he's got attached to players. I think he's probably given them money that was above what they should have got, maybe more term than what they should have got, because I think he likes his players and he's close to his players, and this can be really tricky. Because in 2009, Sports Illustrated's naming him one of the greatest GMs in sports. And about a decade later, if you ask people to name the top 10 GMs in hockey, Ken Holland's name very rarely, if ever, comes up. And if you talk to Detroit fans, they have this facial tick they'll get. And they'll start talking about bad contracts and how they just seem to keep getting worse. And Holland isn't doing anything to fix it. So I thought, while we're at it, let's take a look at the team that he inherited. He inherited a team from Jimmy Devellano that was built to win. And, you know, when it comes to great general managers, Devellano may not be well remembered by many, and Ken Holland is likely remembered as the guy who put together and created that Detroit. It wasn't technically a dynasty, but they won a lot. We'll just say they won a lot and leave it at that. But it was in place because of Jimmy's work. Now, Ken Holland was there as an assistant general manager. He was there as goaltending coach. He was on their management team for a long time before he took over. When he took over, they were coming off just having won a Stanley Cup. And, of course, that was the summer where Vlad Konstantinov was in a car accident, and his career was ended by that. The Detroit Red Wings took that, wore it as a badge of honor, for lack of a better term, and they used that as inspiration to get them to that next cup. Now, they were a fantastic team to start with. If you're looking for Hall of Famers, look no further. You got Nick Lidstrom. Larry Murphy's in the Hall, so those are two blue liners. Slava Fedosov should be if he's not. I'm pretty sure he is. Brendan Shanahan, Sergei Fedorov, Steve Yzerman, Igor Larionov. You guys get the point. This was a pretty darn good team. So what Holland's inheriting in Edmonton has no resemblance to this. And this was a situation where he'd been in the organization, he'd worked his way up, and he'd seen how things were done, and then he had the reins passed to him. This is completely different. He's coming in cold to an organization that has underachieved. I think we can all agree on that. And he comes in with a lot of clout, because you do have to go back to 1997 to find where he gets brought in as general manager, but you'd have to look even further back to find where he's brought in as the assistant general manager. And he apparently is going to have full autonomy. And the question mark becomes, how quickly he's going to be able to fix this. Because Edmonton has a lot of problems. They have contracts that they want to get rid of. They have a blue line they need to fix. They do have a goaltending issue, even if Koskinen emerges as a 1A, 1B, can play 45 games type guy. We've seen this year that can work, whether it's Carolina, whether it's the Islanders. We've seen that you can platoon guys. We've seen it in Boston this year as well. You can platoon two guys in net, make the playoffs, and still go on a decent run. So he has some work to do. And what will be interesting to me will be when Ken Holland starts making deals, is he going to look for players that he's familiar with from his time in Detroit? Or is he going to make really creative deals to try to fix things in Edmonton? Because the pressure is going to be to get Edmonton back into a playoff spot, not 3 years from now, but next season. Connor McDavid is going to want to see the playoffs next season. He's really quite upset with how this team has been going over the last couple of years. And hiring Ken Holland should make him feel somewhat better, but he's going to want to see improvement on the ice. So my guess is he's going to be, that's good, would be his reaction, but we'll see how things turn out on the ice would also be part of that. If Ken Holland is capable of turning a team around and building one up, the interesting thing is, and you could make this argument, he didn't really have to do that in Detroit. He was in the midst of doing that with Detroit when the decisions made this offseason to bring in Yzerman. So he seemed to be building a team in Detroit, and I didn't mind how he was doing it. There were some confusing things he was doing. I think holding on to Howard rather than renting him out at the deadline was interesting. And there were other interesting contracts he was signing and things he was doing as well. So we'll see what kind of interesting moves he makes in Edmonton. Because one thing I think we're all going to look at is, can he get rid of the Lucic contract? Is there anybody that's going to take it, and is there any way to move that out and free up that money? And at the same time, you still have to fix the wings as well. So you can't just trade somebody out off the wing and not have somebody else coming in. It's going to be interesting to see what he does with Edmonton. So let me know what you guys think. Ken Holland, fantastic hire, or eh? And this is the second guy now in a week that Seattle was rumored to be really interested in. First Kelly McCrimmon in Vegas, and now Ken Holland out of Detroit. And now they've both got jobs that are solid and firmly in place, and they're not going to be going to Seattle. So the question also becomes, who's Seattle going to look at for their general manager? Because they're rumored to be hiring this summer. So let me know your thoughts in the comments section below. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe if you're browsing your way through. You just happened upon this video. And hey, thank you guys so much for watching. I'll talk to you again soon.